Okay, hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll talk about surface tensions and the role of surfactant over here. Okay, so before starting the topic, you should have the very little idea about the surface tensions. Okay, and the surfactant. Definitely, I'll talk about first about the surface tensions. Whatever the problems we can have. Okay, definitely, if the surfactant is not over there, then we'll go through the functions of the surfactant, the structure of the surfactant, and their functions, different functions. Okay, so first, let's talk about the surface tensions. So for the thing, let's draw the lines over here. Now I'll draw the very simple. Okay, now see, I'm just drawing this one, this part over here. Okay, the same thing we'll get in the right order. Now if I just say you, I'm just drawing the two large alveoli from here. I'm just drawing the two large alveoli from here. Okay, now see, if we just see the alveoli over here, within the alveoli we'll get basically the two types of the cells. First we'll get on top of the cells, that is known as type 1 pneumocytes. Type 1 pneumocytes, these are the flat cells. So first we'll get what type of the cells within the alveoli. We'll get first the type 1 pneumocyte. Okay, and we'll get in between the two, in between the two adjacent type 1 pneumocytes, we'll get cuboidal cells. These are the what? Flat. These are the flat set. And we'll get also in between the two, for example, in between the two, okay, we'll get another type of the cells, the cuboidal shape cells. So we'll get cuboidal shape cells over here. Now this is the type 2 pneumocytes. Now type 2 pneumocytes. And this type 2 pneumocyte that is responsible for secretions of the surfactant. Okay, that is responsible for secretions of the surfactant. Now I'll show you these parts, these structures, and around these cellular layers we'll get the water molecules, we'll get the fluid. Around this we'll get the water molecules over here. Now I'll just enlarge this part over here. Okay, so at first we'll get to what over here, we'll get the type 1 pneumocytes. We'll get the type 1 pneumocytes over here. Then we'll get around it, we'll get the fluid layers. Okay, around it we'll get the fluid layers. So see, from here we'll get the fluid layers. Now let's try to understand from this figure what of the thing we can get further. No. Let's draw up to this much, and I think it will be enough to understand you guys. Now see, if we see these are the water layers. Okay, these are the fluid layers over here. Now if we just talk for any types of the water molecules, for example this one, or the bottom layers of water molecules over here. Okay, now see this, that for the for the properties of the water molecules, these water molecules that will be attracted by these ones also, it will be attracted by these ones, it will be attracted by these ones. So these water molecules that will be attracted equally from the different directions. Okay, so from all directions we can write, from all directions we'll get what? Equal force of attractions, equal force of attractions. As a result, we can say over here, whatever the thing we can say, there will be no problem for these things. Okay, now as a result we will see these water molecules that can move freely, but what about the water molecule that is present on the surface? Now think about the water molecule that is present on the surface. Let's talk about this one. This water molecule, this will be attracted by these molecules, this will be attracted by this one. But see, there is no other molecule that will be attracted in the upwards. See, there is no water molecule that will attract in these directions, because it is where it is in the surface. Now as a result we will see there will be the imbalance. Whatever the imbalance, there is chances for these water molecules to come from the superficial layer to the bottom layer, because it is attracting in these directions. There is no force that will attract in the upward. So the upward, there is no absence of the force of attraction in the upward side, there is less, or you can say that is absent over there. Now in this case, see, there is a chances for the water molecules to go downward. So for these water molecules, let's talk about number 2, this number 1. So it was number 1, number 2. So we'll get what? Inequal. So we'll get inequal. Okay, force of, or unequal, let's write it over here, unequal force of attraction As a result, there is a chances for the water molecules to jump in. So jump in. Whenever it will go jump in, try to understand it in the same way. If it also jump in, it will also jump in. Try to understand from here these figures. In the same way, if it also jump in, then whatever thing, whenever this water molecules that will jump in from these layers, definitely the surface area on the on the surface that will be less, or we can say there will be the development of one kind of the tensions. Whenever it will just come downward, try to understand from the figure. Definitely there will be the development of tensions. Okay, and from the tensions we can see there will be whatever the problem will get the surface tension. So whenever they will get jump in, whenever we will see the jumping of the water molecules from the superficial layers to the bottom layers, so the development of tensions over here. Development of tension. Now try to understand from this figure. Try to understand from this figure. Whenever the water molecules, if I show you once more, let's make one more alveolar for you to understand it clearly. Okay. Now this is the type on pneumocyte. These are type on pneumocyte cells. Okay. Understand from this figure. If I say that around it, I just said that there will be water molecules, presence of water molecules. So whenever the water molecules are over here, but the water molecule that is present on the surface, in the top of the surface, there are chances for the water molecules to go what? Inward. To go inward. To go inward. As a result, see, try to understand from this figure, it will go inward. As a result, we will see that there is some chances for the reducing of the water. There will be the development of the surface tension. In this way, we will see the shrinkage of the surface. We will get what? The shrinkage of the surface. Because all of the water molecules from the surface, if they go down, definitely there is a chances for the decreasement of the, there is a shrinkage of the surface, area over here. So shrinkage of the surface area. In another word, we can say there will be development of the surface tension. As a result, we will see whatever the problem we will see further. See, whenever the surface area that will be less, or we can say the tension will be developed. As a result, we will see the whatever the problem. Try to understand from this figure that the alveoli, they will tend to do the collapsing. They will tend to do the collapsing because whenever the surface area will be less, that will go inward. As a result, we will see the alveoli that will try to do the collapsing over here. So we will get the collapsing tendency. Definitely, there will be creating some pressures. And this type of the pressures that is known as collapsing pressures. So in a nutshell, we can say whatever the problem we will see over here, we will get first the development of tension, development of surface tension, and we will see the what? Shrinkage of the surface over here, shrinkage of surface. So whenever the shrinkage of the surface we are getting over here, definitely try to understand from this figure that here one type of the pressure that will be developed for causing the collapsing, that is known as collapsing pressures. Collapsing pressure. So as a result, we will get the tendency of the collapsing that will be increased. So tendency of seeing that will be increased. Okay, so the tendency of the collapsing that will be increased over here in these cases. So this is the problem we will get whenever the if we see the surface, the water molecules that is present on the surface of the top layers over here, they will just go inward. Whenever they are going inward, definitely the surface area in the on the top, that will be getting decreased. So whenever it will be reduced, or you can say decreased, definitely we will see the development of the tension. As a result, we will see the shrinkage of the surface, and that will create one type of the pressure that is known as what? Collapsing pressures, that is responsible for causing the tendency of collapsing over here. Now we will talk about from here the different kinds of the aspects of the problem we can see in the different shapes of the different shapes of the what? Water molecules over here. Now see, whenever the water molecules they are coming from these directions to this direction inward, at that time whenever they are going from the surface to the bottom layers, okay, from the surface layer to the top layer to the bottom layers, whenever we are getting the shrinkage of the surface, and from this layer whenever the water molecules are going downward, definitely there will be what? From the normal theory we know that the water molecules they will try to change their shape. As a result, we will get this sphere shape over here. We get sphere shape. of the water molecules. And in these things we need to know the Laplace's law to understand it more clearly. Okay. So from here we have to know in terms of the Laplace's law. What is Laplace's law? That the pressure, so you can say over here, that will be the pressure that is developing in this region, that is nothing but the what, 2T by R, tensions by radius. Now is the Laplace's law. Now I'll just apply this law over here. For that thing I need to draw. Okay, let's do more things. Okay. Whatever the problem we can get in this way. See, if we get the unequal alveolar shapes, for example, it may happen, yes. For example, we are getting the two types of the alveoli. For example, one alveoli we are getting in this we are getting one alveoli, and here we are getting another alveoli over here. Okay. Now try to understand whatever the problem they have to fill. So from here, as we know from the Laplace's law, the pressures that will be developed here, that is 2T by R. So if I just do the comparison between these two, definitely the radius, whatever we are getting over here, that will be less than the radius over here. So radius that will be more than this one. So if I just compare this radius with R small r and is the capital R, so here we will see the development of the pressures, that will be how much? 2T by small r. Here is what? The radius is less, definitely as a result the pressure will be more. And in this cases also, if you write it over here, the pressure equals to 2T by R. In this case, see, the radius is more, definitely the pressure that will be less. So the collapsing pressure, if we just compare in this way, what I just said a few minutes back, that the pressure that will be developed more over here, the pressure that will be developed more over here, and the pressure that will be less over here. Now try to think from this figure that there is a chances for the pressure transmissions from the high pressures to the low pressures, high pressure to low pressures. Okay, so we'll see in this cases the pressure that will be, or we can say the ER, whatever the ER is present over here within the small alveoli, that will be transferred to the large alveoli. As a result, we will see in these cases this small alveoli that will be smaller and smaller. Okay, it will be smaller, and it is taking the ER. So the large one that will be larger. The large one that will be the larger, and the small one that will be smaller. So it will be keep on smalling, and it will keep on larging over here in this problem. Now whatever the problem we have to face for these things, that's you need to know. Now try to understand from here. Let's draw once more this figure over here. What kind of the problem you have to face for these things? Okay. Well, let's make it a little bit large. Okay, now see, as we know that there is a presence of what blood vessels for ventilations and perfusion. The same we will get the blood vessels also over here. Now see the problem. Whatever the problem we will get over here, the problem we will get whenever here definitely the ventilation that will be more. Ventilation that will be more. We can say the over ventilations. In these cases we will get over ventilation because more amount of the ER that will come over here. So we'll get more amount of the, for example, oxygen. So we're getting more amount of oxygen. Okay, in these cases we'll get the fast cases. For example, I'm just considering this one the fast. In the fast cases we'll get the over ventilation. But the perfusion is normal. The perfusion is normal. Now see, try to understand from this figure. If we see the over ventilations but the perfusion is normal, whatever the problem we will see, all amount of the ER they will be not able to get exchange with the blood. See, for example, the perfusion is normal over here, but we are getting the over ventilations. The more amount of the ER is coming within the large alveoli over here. So all amount of the ER they will be not able to exchange with the blood over here. So in these cases there will be problem in as far as perfusion ventilation ratio is concerned. So perfusion ventilation, this ratio will be not matched totally. Okay, in these cases. So in these cases we will see some extra amount of the ER that will be wastage because there will be the wastage of the some extra amount of the ER that will be not able to get exchange with the blood. Now here as a result we will see the wastage of extra amount of, So you can write it over here. Extra years. Because all amount of the year they will be not able to get exchange with the blood vessels, so through the blood over here. Now whatever the problem we will see in this case, see definitely from the figure it's very easy that I already said you that what the smaller one that will keep on small. That means it will be smaller again. Okay, see whenever it will be smaller again and again for this thing, whatever the problem we see over here. For example, the year, the presence of the year that will be very less. The year that will come over here very less. So it will be what? Under ventilation. In these cases we will get what? Under ventilation. Under ventilation. Whenever we are getting under ventilation, definitely what? The amount of the air over here that is not sufficient to get exchange with the blood. So the air that is less, so we can say in terms of the oxygen that will be also less. So whatever the problem, for example, less amount of the blood, less amount of the air is coming over here. All of the air molecules they will be able to exchange over here. But here the perfusion is normal. Here perfusion is normal. Now as the perfusion is normal, so the amount of the air is less. As a result, we will see the all amount of the whatever the amount of the blood that will come over here. Okay, the amount of the blood that will come over here, they will be not able to get exchange with the air molecules because there is a shortage of air molecules. Here, because of what? Under ventilations, the amount of the air molecules of the oxygen, whatever you can say, that is less. As a result, some amount of the blood that will be not able to get exchange with the. There is no chance for the blood to get exchange with the gases over here. We can say the air over here. So we'll say some amount of the blood they will be not able to get exchange with the air. So it will be the wastage of some amount of blood over here. So this type of the problem we can see in these cases. So the first problem we got over here for the surface tension, if we get the unequal alveoli. So if you get the unequal alveoli, that means the shape of the alveoli is not equal. Now whatever the problem we'll get over here. Now we'll talk about the second problem. Okay. In the second problem we'll talk about. Okay, let's talk about this part over here. Sorry guys. In the second problem, what type of the problem we'll get? Let's talk about this thing over here. For example, there is an alveoli. Okay. That is the alveoli, it is having some certain types of the size, and you are getting. In this cases, we are getting multiple sac of the alveoli. Multiple sac of the alveoli. Now see, here the size is same. Whatever the size, for example, the size, whatever it is, the same size we will have also here. Okay, but try to understand where the surface area will be more. Where the surface area will be more. Definitely in these cases, the surface area that will be more. So whatever the thing we will see in these cases, definitely in these cases, if the size is same, the size may be same, but the surface area that will be less with compared to this one. So surface area here will be more. And if the surface area is more, definitely there will be more what? Blood and gas exchange. So in these cases, we will see what? The ventilation perfusion ratio that will be more effective. But in these cases, it will be normal. There will be no increasing, no decreasing. So it will be normal. But in these cases, if we get multiple sac alveoli, okay, it is having also the same size, a single alveoli, but it is having multiple sac alveoli for having the same size, but the surface area will be different. As the surface area is more over here, so there is a more chances for what? The ventilation perfusions exchange over here. Then we can say the blood gas exchange over here. But in these cases it will be normal. But the problem is over here, because we need, if we get the more amount of the blood gas exchange, it's good for our lungs, for our health. But whatever the problem we have to face in these cases, the problem that will be over here, that if the size is less, what do we know? P equals to 2T by R. For example, I am just taking the radius over R over here. Okay. Now, if this size keep on decreasing, if we see this size keep on decreasing, or if we get the very less, can say, we can say very small sphere. As a result, this radius that will be severely less. At the time, the pressure, we can say the collapsing pressure that will be more. As a result, we will see in this case there is a chances for developing the collapsing So we'll get in this cases the tendency of collapsing, that will be more. That's the problem. Okay. Now another kind of the problem we'll talk about it. That let's write it over here for this one. Okay. Now, for example, is the alveoli over here, and within the alveoli, you know what? There is the epithelial cells, flat epithelial cells, type 1 pneumocytes, and we are getting in this cases the water molecules. That is, whatever the water molecules is present over here, they are reducing the surface area. So we are getting the shrinkage of the surface area. These water molecules, they are coming inward. They are coming inward. Whenever the water molecules are coming inward, as a result, this surface area, or you can layer the surface layer on the top, that will be less. As a result, we will see the shrinkage of the surface. We will get the shrinkage of the surface area. Whenever the shrinkage of the surface area, we will get the development of the tensions. And in this time, whenever the surface area that will be less, what they will do, they will just do, they will suck the fluid from the circulation. So whenever, okay, let's do in these directions. Whenever the surface area that will be less, whenever the tendency of the collapsing is increasing, whenever the tendency of the collapsing is getting increased over here, at that time they will suck the fluid from the circulation. So sucking of fluid. As a result, we will see in these cases, we will get what? The development of edema. We will get the development of edema. And whenever there is a chances for the formation of the edema, whatever the problem we will see, try to understand this region that will be thick, and whenever this region will be thick, there will be not proper ventilation perfusion. There will be not ventilation perfusion. That means, okay, ventilation perfusion or ratio, that will be not seen properly. That will be not done properly over here. So this type of the problem we can get in these cases. So first problem we got for having the unequal size. The second one for the having unequal size, whatever the problem we got over here in terms of the ventilations, in terms of the perfusions. Okay, in one cases we will get there is a more amount of the air is coming. As a result, we will get the all amount of the air, they will be not able to get exchanged with the blood. So some amount of the air that will be wastage over here. In the second cases, the amount of the air is less, but the amount of the blood is normal. As a result, some amount of the blood they will be not able to exchanged with the air molecules. So some amount of the blood they will be not workless. They will be workless over here in these cases. And in this cases, in the second cases, we got if we get the first case, the second case, and for example the third case. This type of the problem we are getting over here. So in the second cases, I already did talk about if we get the same size of the alveoli, but in alveoli we are getting the single alveoli, another alveoli there are multiple sac alveoli with the same size. Okay, same size with this one. So in these cases, the more surface area, so more gas exchange, it's good. But if the if we get the less or the very severe, very small, you can say the very small sphere in these cases, definitely the radius will be too much less, and as a result the pressures, the collapsing pressures over here, that will be much more. So whenever the collapsing pressure will be much more, definitely there is a chances for developing the collapsing tendency for the alveolar collapsing. Now we'll talk about the surfactant over here to solve these situations. Okay, let's talk about the surfactant. Basically, the surfactant that is produced by type 2 pneumocyte. Surfactant that is produced by type 2 pneumocytes. So I'll show over here first. So what type of the problem we got for these things? The first problem we got unequal, for having got unequal alveoli. Second thing, we got the tendency of collapsing. Third, we got the edema formations over here. Now to solve these situations, to solve these things, we need to use the surfactant. Okay, under normal physiological circumstances, if we talk, for example, I am considering the type 2 pneumocytes. I am considering the type 2 pneumocytes. This one is type 2 pneumocyte. What they will produce? So from type 2, pneumocytes will get a nucleus, for example, will get the productions of surfactant. From here we will get the productions of the surfactant. But the surfactant molecules, if we see over here, that will be in this way, in the patchy ways. We will get, there will be what? Collections of the surfactants together, and this type of the figure that is known as lamellar bodies. So this is known as lamellar bodies. Okay, this is the collections of the surfactant. Here the surfactant that will be stored. So storage of surfactant. Now actually if we see the surfactant, whenever they will come within the membrane, if we see the structures of the surfactant over here, okay, let's use this one. Okay, whenever they will come over here, if we see the surfactant molecules, from here we will get originations of the different kinds of the tubule. Actually like this is the surfactant molecules will get what? This is also multiples surfactant, where we'll get the surfactant molecules are getting fascinated or decorated in this way. This is known as tubular myelin. Tubular myelin. Now these are each individual surfactant. These are each individual surfactant. I will show you surfactant over here. Now this is the process how the surfactant is produced by type 2 pneumocytes, and I will show a single. For example, I am just showing this one over here. If I just show you surfactant molecule, okay, surfactant basically lipid and protein based compounds over here. Okay, so lipid 90% lipid and very small amount of the lipid, proteins will also get. So if we get in this way, we will get one part, we will get, let's do it more clearly for you. Okay, and we will get from here the different kinds of the protein. Protein A, protein B, protein C, protein D. Okay, and we will get also from here two things. One will get the IgA, immunoglobulin A, and from here we will get, from this figure we will get albumin protein. They are having the different functions. Now try to understand from this figure. Actually the surfactant molecule, it is known as what? It is known as, for this, let's erase this part for you guys. This surfactant molecule, the name for it, okay, dipalmitoyl, okay, let me use this one. Okay, dipalmitoylphosphatidylcholine. So dipalmitoylphosphatidylcholine. So this is the actually surfactant molecule. Now see these parts. Okay, these parts, if we just say these two parts, we'll get the two palmitoyl proteins over here, and in these parts, whatever the things we are getting over here, these are the apoproteins. See, A, B, C, D. These are known as apoprotein. Apoprotein over here. These are the apoproteins. Okay. Now see, we will get also the immunoglobulin A and albumin, also albumin protein also here. Now whatever the functions we know before that, let's know about the different kinds of the apoproteins. So if we say apoprotein A plus apoprotein D, whatever the functions do they have in these cases? Now see, for that thing, these two, apoprotein A and apoprotein D, they act as opsonin. They act as opsonin. That means definitely you know